is the Naptime Podcast. I'm Emily Schoolfield, and I'm very happy to be spending this Monday morning with you. Today, we're going to look at types of parenting, specifically focusing on the Montessori method. This episode today is titled Montessori Magic, which is creating a nurturing environment for your child. For those of you who have heard about Montessori learning before, I'm sure that you have got it down pat and you have some fun ideas that you can also add in. For me, I really didn't think about parenting styles until I became pregnant. So it's still something that's new to me. And of course, my little one's still pretty young. So we're just adding things in as she grows and as I learn more information. And this has been something that's been super interesting to me. So I feel like it'd be a fun topic to cover. To give you a little background on my raising and growing and school stuff, I was public school for most of my life, but obviously at home, I was outside all the time and playing. My parents definitely encouraged creativity and going outside and making up a game versus just kind of handing us a toy. And I think that was a really cool way of raising me, especially as a kid, and creativity. That was something that I had to kind of come up with to entertain myself. And my brothers were very hands-on, and it was kind of fun. I was definitely the big sister ringleader. So most of the things we did, at least for up until I was 10, it was me bossing them around. So I feel like I've had some practice in the creativity parenting. But what was interesting to me is obviously this is my background and this is all I've ever known. So when we got pregnant and I knew that our daughter Valerie was coming, I was like, oh, well, there's no question. She's just going to be raised the way I was. And then you add in that fun side of things where my husband was raised differently. In a completely different state. He was raised in Florida. I was raised in Washington. And we started to kind of point out a lot of differences between us and our raising. And it brought in a lot of questions of, what we want to do. And I think what was the coolest part is that when we had taken or gone to premarital counseling, it was a question that was brought up of how do you plan on raising your children? And we were kind of like, oh, we'll get to that when we get there. And then we got there. So that's when I started to really dive into more of different methods of learning, the different ideas of learning. And to give you some more insight, my husband, Cade, was homeschooled. And I obviously went to public school. So I had, kind of an idea of what homeschool kids were. To me, I kind of thought they were at home slacking off all day while I was putting in 8 hours of work. So it was funny as I got to know him and his family that wasn't true. And getting to know them more. For me, I went to school. I think I did great. I got straight A's. I was able to go get an associate's degree. And, if I wanted to keep going, I could. But I have no reason to do that right now. My husband did great, too. He's in school right now working on his bachelor's. So he's doing great things. And some of his younger siblings are still in school. And they kind of had half private school, or not private, sorry, homeschool. And now they're headed into private school. And some public school as well in there. So it was kind of a mix of everything, which is cool. It kind of shows, that you're not stuck in one thing. So it takes the stress off it for us as parents with whatever decision we make. I think every kid's different too. So it's going to kind of change and mold as time goes. But the more we talk, the more we've kind of decided that at least the preschool and kindergarten years, we do want to homeschool. So that's obviously my job, which is totally fine. But I've never taught kids before. I've babysat, but nothing educational as far as like curriculum goes. So that's what opened my mind up to just research. And I found a lot about Montessori. And I really do think that as I grew up, this was kind of something that was a part of my childhood because we had a whole huge backyard, like I've said, and a lot of space to run around. And I think that going outside was something that, that's what we did. We went outside, we found a stick, we had to make up an activity, and my two younger brothers went along with it. So I got to play ringleader, and now I'm actually going to be leading my own children. So I do want to have some idea of what I'm doing. But I love Montessori, and so that's what I want to talk about today, just the specifics of it, kind of where it came from, and how I plan on integrating it into my daily life and my education with my daughter and any kids to come down the road. So to get started, I just want to give an overall definition of what Montessori is. Montessori is a method of education that is based on self-directed activity, hands-on learning, and collaborative play, which anyone who's studied childhood development as I have these past couple months, will know that the amount of connections you're making in your brain from the time you're born up until 1-year-old is just insane. I mean, everything is connecting. You got colors, you got light, you got shapes, like all these things that your brain's trying to figure out. So it's a very vital time to teach kids hands-on activities, to give them an interest in learning on their own, and just to get all those gears spinning in a way that they can really be involved versus you kind of just showing them, oh, here's how I do this, but instead making them comfortable in a setting where they can learn themselves, maybe how to twist a gear, how to open a lock, how to stack up blocks, things like that. So it's kind of a cool idea. Montessori has been around for over 100 years. Dr. Montessori used a medical training with her children and other children to find that they had a natural desire to learn. And a child can be a play lead. So one thing that I think I had the preconceived notion of was that with kids, I kind of have to design what they're going to play with, figure out what they're going to learn from it, and create a curriculum that can be taught to Valerie, my daughter, as she grows. But what I'm learning more from the Montessori method is it's not about me sitting down and being like, okay, here's the toy, here's what we're going to play with. Instead, it's about having those toys accessible so that she can kind of choose herself what she wants to do. And I'm more there just to kind of monitor and help her when she gets stuck or frustrated with something that might be too difficult for her, versus doing it for her and kind of deciding what she's going to work on that particular day. I think one thing that we do take for granted is how independent kids are. I mean, think about your own personality. You like to make decisions. Think about toddlers. Oh my goodness. As she's getting to that stage, she loves to make her own decision. And I think that as humans, we really do have this innate desire to have control and have some sense of both security and just organization. And I think it's also cool to look at, God and in the Bible and all the numbers and all the patterns that you see, that he is also a very organized God. And I think that is one thing that comes out in us as humans and also in children. So I think that's something that this method does foster in growing and just learning. So for my specific home, a lot of things that I'm trying to change, which first, let me be upfront with you. Currently, my daughter's toys are in a giant toy box, and it's just a mess. It's a total mess. I'm going to tell you right now that I am learning how that doesn't work, because when I walk over there and open up the toy chest, she gets super excited to see all her toys, but then that's it. She immediately loses interest, and I honestly think it's because she can't see all the pieces to maybe one puzzle or a stacking set, and she it's just a lot to dig through, and I think that takes so much attention from a kid when their brain is lighting up with all these colors and things in front of them that they can't decide what they want to do. And I think that she more often than not gets bored, mainly because her brain gets overwhelmed. And something I do know about kids is if they see something that's either too difficult or too simple, they have no interest in it, because that's how their brain works. So I love the style of Montessori where you have a more organized playroom, and obviously it won't stay that way because you got kids. But it's more of a cube or cubby setup, and you'll have like one cube with a set of stacking blocks, and the whole set of stacking blocks is there, and it's something that's accessible at their eye level and something that they can go to and pull out on their own. And it makes it a lot easier for them to kind of make a decision on, hey, I want to do this today, or hey, I want to do that, without overwhelming them with options. It's more of a simplistic idea. Coming in with that, you can also have a station with, we have a sorting carrot block, which I really like. And they're carrots that are different sizes, and it's kind of like a puzzle trying to figure out where they go. And so having that in just one cubby versus having like 10 things in one place that you're just kind of trying to stuff in there and put away. And I mean, one of the biggest challenges I can see with this is going to take a lot more from the parent to, in the beginning stages, clean up and keep it organized, because right now, at the end of the day, I really just like to throw it all in there. I'm like, all right, it's on the floor, throw it in the box, close it. It's great. It's fun. But to work with this method, that is, a step that you kind of have to take to keep it more organized. And I am the type of personality that is very black and white and love organization. But as a mom, it's becoming less and less important to me as the day goes on and I'm exhausted, dishes in the sink that used to be priority number one. Now I'm just kind of like, whatever. So this is, a learning method where as a parent, you do kind of have to be on top of it. So that's a commitment that you would have to make. Another thing that I do really like about this is there are different stages for everything. So you're starting in the pre-K, you're starting in kindergarten. You have all these different stages of learning. But one thing that's nice is that they kind of grow with the kids. So versus having to buy a toy when they're 6 months old and then 1 year, they can kind of use the toy differently. So maybe if you have a block, they start out by just looking at the block, picking up the block, seeing the different shapes on the block. And as they get older, they learn, oh, this can stack on this block. Or maybe you stack the blocks for them and they learn how they fall down and, oh, this is how gravity works. And then as they move up to the next stage, they can kind of look at the block and be like, oh, there are numbers on this block, there are colors, there are animals. And so as they grow, they can get through all those stages with one kind of toy, and they already know the toy, they're learning the toy, and they can find different ways to use it. I think another cool thing about the Montessori method is all the toys don't necessarily have an end to them. They don't have a specific objective. It's kind of an open-ended toy that they can use their creativity for to decide how they want to use it. Versus, other toys that might just have buttons that you're pressing and they make noise and that's kind of the end of it. They're more hands-on activities that the kid can use their imagination for and decide, oh, today I want this block to talk to this block, or I want to stack the blocks, or I want to knock the blocks down with a ball, or those kind of things. So I think that also sets up a really great classroom. All right, sorry. It's dry out there this month. Okay, moving on down. Why I specifically have chosen to use the Montessori method is the sensory activities, problem solving, and cause and effect. Cause and effect is a big one that I'm currently sitting in with my toddler because she's learning very quickly. Things frustrate her, and when something doesn't go her way, she has all these emotions that she's got to deal with. And one of the cool things about this method that I've learned is that kids kind of working through the cause and effect and seeing the effects of their specific actions actually helps them be less frustrated. And for using the stacking blocks example again, having a stack of blocks stacked up and then having them fall down, she realizes that her action of hitting the blocks is what causes them to fall. And if that frustrates her, then she's also learning, okay, this is what caused it. Here's the effect. So it's helping connect those brain waves and the concepts for kids so where they can see things happening in real time and what effects they have and what control they have over the situation. And based on the Montessori method, that's one way that kids can become less frustrated or at least understand their actions. And hopefully, as time goes on, I'm hoping that Valerie can understand more why she can't do certain things and why she can based on what causes things to happen and what she has to deal with afterwards. So that's been a really cool thing for me. One of the comments that I've seen on a couple websites when researching this, is the quote of "help me help myself," versus seeing it as a setting of I'm the teacher, this is the student, I'm going to be giving her the curriculum. Instead, I'm kind of there as a helping person because she knows how to help herself. If she's hungry, she knows how to get snacks because I have them in a snack container. She can go grab it and she can eat the snacks. If she gets frustrated with the snack container, maybe can't eat it, then that's when I would kind of step in versus being there for every step of the way. You're giving her more independence. And that's one thing that I think is really nice because I personally learn best by failing. When I do things and I mess up or I do something and it doesn't go correctly, I learn very well that obviously didn't work and I'd try again and use another method. So I think that's a cool way to incorporate it into more of a playroom setting for a younger child. Another thing that I like about Montessori is kind of the role play. So a lot of Montessori toys, a lot of Montessori things are kitchen setups. Maybe you have a living room setup. You have a lot of like cleaning tools. So you can give them like a broom or just, a wooden shovel, something to play with, which not only are you getting your house cleaned, voluntarily, but it's a cool dynamic of the kids watching the parents. And obviously, as a role model to them, you are going to be everything that they're going to witness, from growing up and wanting to wear your shoes or wanting to go with you places or do it like daddy does it. I think Montessori is a cool way of learning where the parent is involved in a way that the kid's trying to be more like them. And we know, based on the Bible, how important it is for us to be role models. In Proverbs 22:6, it says to train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And it really is such a critical job. You know, you've heard, be careful little ears, what you hear, be careful little eyes, what you see. And in a home, we are that role model. And so, especially when homeschooling, I think you're in a really cool situation where you get to be that role model on a 24/7 basis. And even when kids go to school, I think once they're back maybe from daycare for the day or back from class, you know, spending that time with them, even for a short, like 2 hours, but just giving them that undivided attention, or letting them see you cook dinner and keep up with housework and just do it with a happy heart and a grateful attitude. I think that is a really cool example for them. So I like the Montessori toys that are also the kitchen setups and things, because then they kind of have a kid-sized version of what you're doing that they feel like they can be a part of, but also in control of on their own, and kind of take care of, to feel a little sense of responsibility. Because I think as kids get older, I mean, the older you get, responsibility is given to you, and you get to decide what you get to do with it. So I think being in a spot where you don't necessarily have a responsibility to do anything but play, it really gives kids the opportunity to kind of take on responsibility as they want to, and see things that are being done and want to be a part of it. So especially once chores get added in, you know, maybe you can try to put a spin on them. Oh, we're just playing kitchen. But I really like that setup as well. And Montessori obviously isn't a biblical necessarily way of raising your kids, but I think there are a lot of aspects of it that can be incorporated, which has also made it a really cool way of learning for me. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. Alrighty. So one thing that I also really hope to do is I've recently, to give you a little background. So before I married Cade, I was really good at boiling water and microwaving. I think that was kind of my go-to cooking style. So cooking at home, I never took an interest in. It was always just kind of something I had to do to feed myself. At the end of the day, I mean, my parents took care of me, obviously. I never worried about if a meal was coming, but it wasn't something that I was a part of. So I think as I became an adult, I never thought I needed to learn. I was like, this is fine. I can just, go buy a frozen meal at Kroger and call it good. When I met my husband, his mother is an amazing lady. She really has taught me a lot of things. Like I've said, homeschooled, and she also was a stay-at-home mom, whereas my mom works, so she didn't have as much opportunity to do everything throughout the day, so she needed a little more help. And it's cool to see how both methods kind of work. But when I married Cade, obviously his background, he was used to his mom cooking and things like that, and so for me, I was like, okay, well, I want to be a stay-at-home mom right now. That's kind of where I see fit and I think I would be good at. So I guess I should learn how to cook. So it's been a very interesting last 2 years. I believe I've been getting a lot better. I'm starting to understand a lot of things. But one thing that's been really cool to me is baking, because I am a chemistry nerd. Any kind of science, I just love cell biology, all these things that I really do feel like prove that God exists. Like the more I learn, and the more questions that we have that are unanswered, is just, to me, I'm like, okay, there's a God. I have no question in my mind that there's a God, and cool things like that. But with baking, seeing all those chemical reactions and things that happen with like baking soda, and you got vinegar and all these different ingredients, cool things like that, I feel like is a really cool setting actually to teach chemistry. So my mind has been blown with all these reactions and how cooking ingredients and kitchen ingredients can be used for cleaning and all these new things I'm learning. And for those of you who already know all this, good job. I just, I'm late to the game, but I'm having a fun time learning right now. So another really cool thing I've seen is kids cooking. And this is kind of a part of the Montessori method, is bringing them into the kitchen, which Sounds terrifying because you know it's going to be a crazy mess, but there are a lot of things to learn, and learning these now will make it so that once they're 23, they're not, married and okay, pasta, but they have more options in understanding the kitchen. But you can also integrate the homeschooling with chemistry lessons and science lessons, and I don't know, just some cool stuff to think about. So I'm getting excited about it, knowing that this is coming up in a couple years. But yeah, so one of the cool things I have found, I don't know if any of you have heard of Radish Kids. This is something that some good friends in Alaska introduced to us. But they literally sent, I feel like I'm an ad, but no, this isn't a sponsorship, nothing. I just think it's cool. They literally send a couple meals. You can kind of decide how many you want throughout the month. And they make it so that kids can cook it. Like, it's understood by kids, and it's kind of in a kid setting. And I think that's something really cool that you could also add to your learning curriculum. Number one, it gives you meal plans. Like, all right, what are we making this week? Well, here you go. And it also gets kids working and learning learning skills that are great for life. I mean, I think that understanding how to make a loaf of sourdough bread, which I've just now learned, things like that, it's a skill that you should have. The understanding of how yeast works, the understanding of how different ingredients can be substituted for other things, how fats work, how, you kind of open a door to learning about health and how different things respond and break down in your body. And it's cool. Anyways, so that's a resource I just wanted to share that I have learned about that I definitely think that I will be signing up for a little bit down the road to also add that to your learning curriculum. Because, I mean, I think teaching kids hard work and the reward of that is fantastic. And for me, anytime I put in the work of cooking and it's a good meal, I feel good about it. The dishes afterwards, not so much. But, that's something completely different. So these are kind of the main things that I've discovered. Just a small bullet point list here. But one thing I do want to share with you is that I'm sharing my research on both our website, our Pinterest page, and I'll probably link it to our Facebook page as well. But going to our website is going to be the best thing you can do, and I will go ahead and add that link in the description so you can access that there and have everything you need. But I'm making a page specifically set aside for Montessori and kind of touching on some main topics. And then within each topic, I'm going to have a short blog post with kind of the main concepts I've found on that specific topic and why they're so important. And then I've also gone a step ahead, and because I'm starting to stock up my own Montessori play area, I've linked some affiliate links from Amazon of the things that I'll be purchasing, the things that can also apply to those concepts that I've discovered. So if you're interested in looking at that, definitely go take a look at those links. Let me know what you think. And if you have other things that you have in your home that you think are great, I'd love to hear about them because I am building up my reservoir for both Valerie and then all the kids to come next. So I'm hoping that these toys last and that she continues to stay interested in them. So if that's something you're interested in, I wanted to just share that research so that other moms who might have questions continuously or are looking for the actual stuff to purchase, that is there and available for you. So let me know what you guys think about that. Another thing I wanted to do with this, I guess technically episode 1, since episode 0 is just kind of a background on what we're doing here, is I want to incorporate a recipe of the week because, as I've talked about sometimes in this episode, meal planning is hard and I don't love it. I really don't, but I'm the kind of person who likes to kind of make a chart at the beginning of the week because I know if it's not there, then I have an easy out to go out for dinner, and I'm trying to stay away from that as much as I can. So one thing that I would love to do is get recipes from all of you guys, because similar to getting married and having a spouse with a different background, I know we all have different family backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, everything that could bring in some cool, unique recipes. So for all the mamas out there who are looking for a recipe for the next week or just planning ahead in the future, I would love to have those recipes shared. And then each podcast either put a link to my Pinterest or wherever we want to post it. Maybe I'll put it on the website. I'd love to just have that available for other moms to access and then kind of have a whole backlog of what we've had over the last couple episodes. So if that's something you'd be interested in contributing to, I would love to hear from you, and I would love to have those sent to me. So you can go ahead and submit those through any DM on Facebook or Instagram. Or if you want to just post directly on our Mama's Facebook page, then that would also be a great way for me to access it. And then I'll just kind of pick one every episode, and then we'll just add them in as we go. So that's one thing I just want to kind of call out and ask for help with, because yeah, it's a whole job. I'm telling you, stay-at-home mom or working mom, you still got a full job for you when dinner time rolls around, kids to run after. But let's go ahead and work together as much as we can to get that working out. Another thing adding on to that I wanted to say is if there are moms who are in specific areas or close to each other, one really cool idea I've heard about is mom groups that get together and kind of cook meals together. So this originally started at our old home group, which we had, and she actually did it with her family, a friend of mine, and they would kind of pick a house every couple days or every day where they would cook dinner. And as a member, you could either show up and eat dinner there, or you could decide as a group that you instead want to pick up the meals and take it home. So you have one person who's cooking for like 20 people, but you're only doing it one night a week, and then you kind of have other meals to pick up throughout the week, which I thought is super cool. So if that's an idea that you find interesting or want to get started, go ahead and share that with some friends or some mom groups that you have, and I think I would be all about it. If there's anyone who wants to share meals with me, let me know. But I think that's a really cool way of kind of dividing up the work. And if you get together and cook one night, then you also have a time where the kids get to hang out. You get to hang out with your mom buddies, or even just young women and family members that, have the same problem, because we all have meal plans to make. So that's just something cool that I wanted to share. But I think that's all I actually have today regarding the Montessori method. So I want to thank you for listening. Go ahead and check out those links like I told you about. If you want to learn more, Radish Kids, again, are a really cool resource for getting recipes and teaching your kids how to cook at home. Those affiliate links are going to have great stuff if you are interested in the topic, or maybe an idea regarding the Montessori method. And I think that's all I've got. So thank you so much for listening. Next week, we're going to be talking about public enemy number 1. So it'll be a very interesting episode, and I hope you are here for it. So yeah. All right. We're all set. Let's go.